Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. Apologies for these minutes because I was sharing the link in a few groups. I have on Facebook. So I hope everyone is doing well here, and that those of you who are involved in preparation, in intensive preparation, of course, for the exam that is starting next week. I hope that they are doing this in the best circumstances possible. Si Mustafa Murshid, hola, hola. Hello, Si Mustafa, I hope you are doing well. Thank you for always being the first one to show up here together with Nathalie Leblanc. You know, there are, you have earned the badge of permanent friends. Thank you so much, Si Mustafa. You are on the verge of finishing your doctorate, but you are still interested in meetings like these, which means that you are not here only because there is an exam or something. Thank you. But it's good. I know that you like these exchanges and also these question answer sessions. Thank you. Nathalie Leblanc says, good evening, Professor Ambrose. Good evening, Nathalie. I hope you're doing well too. Siabla Lamin, good evening. Siabla says, I hope all is well. All is well. Thank you very much. Hana El Mohammadi, good evening, dear Professor. Ustada Hana, thank you for joining us, though you are very distant. Okay, but thank you very much for getting interest in this channel and in what we broadcast here. Khadija Handar, good evening. Hiba Hinawi or Hinawi, hello, Professor. I hope you're doing well. Doing well. Ustad Atimed is saying good evening. Good evening, Ustad Atimed. And also, Ustad Samia, good evening. Thank you very much for joining this live session and the other live sessions as well. Si Mustafa Morshid is greeting Samia Mustafir. That's very nice. Nice of you. Very kind as usual. Hello, Professor. Si Mohammed Zarq says, I hope you're doing well. Glad to join the meeting. Glad to have you among us as well. Si Mohammed Zarq, I hope you're doing well, and I hope everything is going as planned. Samia is greeting Morshid, referring to him as Professor Adim, which I confirm. He's just an amazing young scholar. It's really interesting. Ustad Dareem Siraji, I hope you are doing well, Ustad Dareem. Thank you for joining us. It's really, a pleasure to have not only students but also colleagues here, colleagues from other universities, namely Fez, and I have colleagues who join me from Kinitra, from different universities. Some of them are watching us here without showing their presence in a comment. I would like to thank them very much for this. First, please let me know whether the sound is okay, and also whether the image is okay. I hope both are fine. If that is the case, then we can maybe start with a few questions that are not related to today's topic, because we are waiting for more people to join. Particularly in regard to something that relates to phonology, a typical session needs to be followed from the first minute. So if there is anyone who joins us later, they may lose the point, especially that this is a request from around 4 students. They asked for this particular session on phonological processes and phonological rules. And let me reiterate this principle that I do respond urgently to requests where the same request is made by 2, 3, 4 people. So wherever the request is numerically high, I just go ahead and start. Okay, nice. Natalie and Mustafa Morshid say it's good. Thank you very much. All is well, Professor. That's very nice. Natalie, both the sound and the image. Thank you. Latifa has deleted something. Latifa Il Jamili has deleted something. So let's wait until we are around 25. And I would like to seize the opportunity that the people who are with us and who really find this live session or these live sessions interesting, to hit the like button. You will not lose. It doesn't cost anything, does it? Nor does the fact of joining the channel. All that you need to do is just hit the subscribe button. It does not. This is in case you have this wish that a channel like this one needs to continue in the future, because if there is no encouragement, then I think we will call it a channel. And these will certainly stop, because there is an amount of effort that is invested, and it doesn't mean anything if we meet just to advise a few students for the exam and then they will forget about it. And you see, so it's better and it's encouraging of you to hit the like button whenever the occasion arises, whenever the opportunity comes. And also to subscribe, because when I finish the live, now I have 18 people here, and I'm sure there are far more than 18 people watching us. So this is a call for them to, hit the subscribe button. They will not lose anything, and I will not gain anything. Don't think that I'm talking to those people who have this, who are reticent to subscribe. I'm not gaining anything. I'm not gaining any money from this. You see, so it's just a way of encouraging us. So it's a good idea if you. It will be more encouraging of you if you subscribe. Of course. Okay, Natalie, more than interesting. Thank you very much, Natalie. So it's people like you and Simurshid and Sadati Mustafir, and there are many colleagues, of course. These come on a regular basis. There are people here who have not missed a single session, which is really encouraging. I wish the list of the people who are faithful, to the channel will, increase somehow in a slowly but surely fashion. Okay, nice. Latifa Jabiri, hello. I deleted my comment because it's not polite enough. Sorry. No, no, no. Maybe the expression sometimes can fail us, but I'm sure you are not someone who cannot be polite. No. All right. Si Abdelalameen, we hope this channel can continue in the future. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. That's what we are hoping for. There is an amount of effort. It's not easy to be patient for a whole year just to see that a video is watched just by 60 people, 70 people. Now with these lives, yes, when we finish, I find that 200 and something, between 200, sometimes it can reach 300. This is already nice. This is already encouraging. Okay, but with more subscriptions, the channel will have the chance of spreading to more people. Okay, Abdul Amin, I hope this is okay. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Chernobyl, hello, Professor. I hope you're doing well. Hello, Chernobyl. I hope you're doing well too. Si Mohammed Azraq says, could please explain the best methods for analyzing open-ended questions items in a questionnaire? Okay. Look. See, Mohammed Al-Zarq, generally we ask open-ended questions to obtain language from people, because, in an open-ended question, what do you have? You have list some of the factors that cause or that hinder or whatever. What is your overall evaluation of something? What is your impression of something? So in asking an open-ended question, what you are doing is asking the respondent to use language, to answer, not to tick, because when they tick, you can analyze this by means of numbers. You can convert the tick into a score, and then you will do some technical quantitative analysis. In open-ended questions, no. In open-ended questions, what you will be doing is qualitative data analysis, and this is not harmful, by the way. Some students, and this is an opportunity for me to say this, some students asked me, I think yesterday there was a discussion with a student, the master's student, and she was of the belief that once you embark on a quantitative design, this means that all your hypotheses have to be tested using quantitative design, which is not, of course, the case. Whether to analyze or to go qualitative or quantitative will heavily depend on your hypothesis, of course. There are chances, for example, for a researcher who has articulated 3 hypotheses to answer the first or to test the first hypothesis by means of quantitative, by means of numerical evidence. But there are also, those who would have a hypothesis that is more conducive to a qualitative data analysis. So this will all depend on the way you articulate your hypothesis. And of course, articulating a hypothesis will directly inform you of the type of items that you have in a questionnaire. Okay, so if you have an open-ended question, it means that you have a hypothesis that is conducive to a qualitative analysis, qualitative approach of analyzing your data. Your evidence will not be numeric, will not be based on numbers. It will be rather based on words. So you can do some discourse analysis, some reading between the lines, some interpretation of the responses. And usually, this is one way of looking at the thing. Other than this, if you have no hypothesis, but you are using those research questions just to inform your analysis, that's also possible, because you will analyze the previous items quantitatively, because, for example, you have a Likert scale, or you have opportunity to tick, and the questions that you have made open-ended will certainly be analyzed qualitatively, that's for sure, because it's about language. But also, that analysis can inform the quantitative analysis. So this can be a complementary analysis to what you had before. Okay, so how to analyze it? Analyze it by using maybe a discourse analysis method, by conducting content analysis. Maybe you can themes can be generated, can emerge from these responses, and so forth. All right, Silzrak, thank you for your interesting question, which is a question that is oftentimes asked by students conducting a doctoral thesis, for example, which I assume is your task. Hiba Hinawi, Mark this moment one day. This channel will be among the top channels in Morocco. Oh, I really don't know, but I am optimistic on one occasion, but disappointed on so many occasions. There are things that I have heard of being said in my absence, and it comes from people who are not supposed to say that, but unfortunately. Anyway, there is always this criticism. There is always this, but it's very encouraging anyway. To as long as the students like it, and as long as we have people who are interested in these things, in the content of these live channels, this is very nice. For me, it doesn't. We are, it's noble cause. Okay, so it takes me a lot of time. It takes me effort, but for a good reason. The reward is these words of gratitude and this feedback that says thank you for your I mean, it's not the thank you that is interesting in itself, but the fact that a student says that I have understood, thanks to a live session, I have understood this and this. Sometimes I receive these messages which are very encouraging. So thank you, Hiba, thank you so much. Mustafa Murshid, all I can do is keep sharing your live sessions to my Facebook. Oh yeah, you never cease to surprise me with your generosity, Si Murshid, and with your keen interest in such contents. Thank you very much. Turkey Dia, hello, Professor. Hello, Dia. Thank you for joining us. What do you think about the incorporation of AI in teaching of the learning process? أستاذ ريم Siraji. Okay, AI and its incorporation of the teaching. Look, AI will. That's personal. That's a personal point of view. The way we can incorporate AI in teaching is the way we used to incorporate ICT. That's the thing. My belief is that there is just a term. This is just a term that changes with probably other changes that are commensurate with the more sophisticated, because AI has gone one notch higher than ICT. So I think that this is a debate that will not depart from what we used to see. At the beginning, I remember it was in the year 2007, 2008, 2005. From 2000 onwards, the movement was called computer assisted language learning. It was called the CAL. Later on, it became ICT. Later on, it became AI. So I think that. I'm afraid I will dare say things, but that may not be to the liking of so many people here. But focusing so much on AI and it's the impact that it can have on teaching is a very good area, but it's not. It's just an offshoot of this technological wave that can have positive and negative consequences. How to incorporate it? Yes, of course. I can say just without any research. I claim that I did not read anything about this. I confess, but just from common sense, artificial intelligence can help. Of course, it can help, for example, to individualize learning. This is very interesting, of course. Because people have different learning styles, and some might prefer, to use, to learn visually, others auditorily, others are more at rest when they watch, films, when they, this can be individualized. I think AI promises this individualization process. Apart from that, the other probably big boon, as we say, of artificial intelligence and its implementation or incorporation in the teaching and learning process is that this can foster autonomy, learners' autonomy. But again, when it fosters learners' autonomy, I always believe that there is nothing that can replace the teacher. Yes, it can foster the learner's autonomy, but there is always this need of the more knowledgeable other, in the words of Vygotsky, who would guide the student through the learning process. AI will remain a learning tool, but it's never a tool that can substitute a teacher. Of course, this discussion has, as I said, has ramifications there are different topics that one can discuss in relation to this area of research. Now I see that a number of doctoral students have embarked on the analysis of AI. This is a very good thing. But again, this is something I talked about in my inaugural lecture in Meknes, I remember. It's a pity that research of this type, in this area is mostly concerned with attitudes. What are students' attitudes? What are teachers' attitudes? And then you put a full stop. People have been researching these things ad nauseum. So what's new? There are questions, I always say that, there are questions that to which the answer does not need any research. You can answer just by common sense. What is, for example, the old generation versus the new generation. And of course, students, because they love their smartphones, they love their gadgets, they are more likely to prefer to work in ICT. So maybe there are issues that are more, worth investigating than attitudes and preferences. So this is what I can say about this. I have, to put this between brackets. Thank you, Professor Siraji. I think you have a master's program in Meknes on this. Applied linguistics and artificial intelligence, something like that. I don't remember. And even the laboratory that you have just put in place bears this part of the title. I think it was language learning and artificial intelligence. I don't know. So would you kindly, Sadarim, type the name of your laboratory just in order for us to see the reflection of this AI movement in Moroccan research arena. Ibtisam Khasha, good evening, Ibtisam. MGCFGG, hello, Professor Nordin. I'm very happy for this live broadcast. Thank you very much. I'm very glad you have joined us with this nice name of yours. So one has to pronounce most of your. So we are doing phonology, but you have no vowel in your name there. How can we syllabify you if we want to syllabify your name? Okay, I'm just joking. Thank you very much. Natalie, criticism is the price of success. Well, it's good. It's good. It's good, At least if you cannot join, if you cannot encourage, Anyway, I put this between brackets. Let me just move on. Mustafa Morshi, by the way, I like the questions asked and comments made by Nathalie Leblanc. I'm sure she will be a great doctor and professor one day, inshallah. Inshallah, I wish her all the best. Natalie happens to be my master's student, and she is doing very well. And yes, I wish her all the best, inshallah, and all the best to all our master's students who are wonderful individuals. So we know how to select our students. Mustafa, okay. Berlingo says, hi, Professor. I hope you're doing great. I want to ask you if you have shared any video about the X-bar theory in syntax. Yes, I did. I shared a number of videos. All that you need to do is go to this page, to the channel. You have your academic companion, Dr. Amrous, and then you go. There is no. There are playlists, but you just go to videos or to live. You will see that. Just look at the title. If you click on the video and you find us talking about something else, this only means that the core of that title, the core of what is mentioned in the title is somewhere in the video. So you just keep on, either you can watch all of it, or you just go to the second part of the video where I explain, I started with the very first lesson on phrase markers, and I introduced X-bar theory. I talked about the noun phrase and the complement adjunct. I also talked about the representation of other phrases. There is a video also where I talked about the CP, the complementizer phrase, and the point that was made was that all clauses have this C double bar structure with arguments, of course. And then we moved to the discussion of movements. We started with I to C movement, inflection to complementizer movement, or T to C, tense to complementizer movement. We talked about NP movement in passive constructions. We talked about NP movement in raising constructions, and we made the distinction between a raising predicate and a control predicate. I don't know. Maybe we have not addressed the WH WH movement yet. So this is a call on the students here who would like me to have a session on it. I need at least 3 emails, as you did today successfully. I don't know whether you agreed but I received a number of messages, asking me to talk about phonological processes. So we can do the same, and then I will respond positively. Thank you. Okay, Med-T. Hello, Professor. Hello, Med-T. Thank you. Okay. Is there software to analyze quantitative data, interview data, to reveal emerging trends? I think you can do this. Yeah, there is one. I forgot the name. I've never used it actually, but there is one. I will let you know by message, but I've never used it, and it's not really popular in among us. So what we know is SPSS to analyze quantitative data, but you can do that manually. It's a pleasure to work on, to do this analysis to see, the emerging trends. You can do it yourself better than a machine. Okay. Par Adrir. Mustafa says Mustafa is an expert in AI and critical thinking. That's really interesting. I didn't know that she is interested in AI, but I know that she is working on critical thinking. Perhaps I have seen just 50% of the picture when it comes to her, her thesis. Par Adrir says, good evening, Professor. Good evening, Par Adrir. Thank you. Mohammed Zarq, AI is a supplementary tool, but will never be a replacement for the teacher, given the complexity of learning process, social effective, etc. I fully agree with you. This is exactly what I have in mind as well. This is, okay. Fadwa Shmigin Melaya Mara. Okay. No, Fadwa is a BA student. The polydisciplinary faculty of Nador, and she happens to be, a hardworking student, and she's conducting research on the use of the mother tongue, I guess, in the Moroccan classroom. Thank you, Fidwa. Thank you for letting us who you are. Otherwise, I would have imagined that you come from a remote place. Okay, Sirajirin, thank you for your feedback, dear colleague. The laboratory is entitled Applied Linguistics and Artificial Intelligence. Look at and you will find many laboratories and many doctoral research groups where you have this AI component, and master's program as well with this AI component, which is nice. But with the hope that people will stop addressing these issues of attitudes and likes and dislikes. And there is more to AI research than simply, doing working on attitudes and preferences and asking these classical questions as to what the difference is between the old generation and the young generation and the students' preference to mobile phone. These have been with us for quite some time, of course. Okay. Thank you, Sadari. Abdullah Lameen says, if you may, sir, can you explain the theta grid and what does I and Y mean and stand for? Thank you. I'm afraid, are you talking about the theta criterion, the theta grid, and I and Y? I'm afraid I cannot really. I have not been able to grasp your question. So, which theoretical standpoint you are talking about? And I really don't know. So, theta grid, you mean the theta criterion, or the list of theta roles? And how about I and Y stand for? I'm afraid I cannot get the point. So, if there is a possibility that you rephrase this question, I will be, more than grateful. By the way, X-bar theory video is explained in a video on Facebook, not on YouTube. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. This is an opportunity to invite people also to subscribe to the Facebook page. So as you can see, the channel and the Facebook page have roughly the same title. So it would be a good idea to hit the like button for both pages. Here, you hit subscribe, and on the other one, either subscribe or a like, because when you like, it means you are following. You are a follower by default. So thank you, Abdul Amin, for pointing this out. So, ladies and gentlemen, the students here who would like to look at the video on X-bar theory, they need to go to the Facebook page, Your Academic Companion, rather than here. Okay, thank you very much. See, then Nathalie Leblanc, thank you so much, Si Mustafa or Mr. Mustafa. You will be a great doctor and professor as well. Inshallah, I wish him all the best. Si Murshid is very hardworking and very much dedicated. This is really nice. Yeah, that's in vivo. Yeah, that's the program, the software that analyzes qualitative data analysis. I've never used it. I heard of it. I've never, not even consulted it. Okay, Mohammed Al-Zarq, thanks. Si Murshid, Mustafa, most welcome. Very good. Okay, now we are 30 people because 29 people are watching, and myself, that makes 30. So it's good to talk as 30 people. Anyway, let me just, is it time for us to talk about phonological processes, ladies and gentlemen? If you think time is ripe for talking about phonological processes, just let me know. Mustafa says yes. Yes. Okay. Inshallah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So the topic for today is phonological, the notion of phonological processes. And before we talk about the phonological processes, this is what we are going to do. Number one, we will define what a phonological process is. Number two, we will have a survey of the different phonological processes that exist. We will not exhaust the list, but we will discuss the ones that are so frequent. And maybe we will have covered 95% of the processes. Okay. So as we do this, we will provide illustrative examples. If we fail to provide an example from natural languages, because this is very spontaneous, we will use hypothetical data analysis. Before I start with the definition of phonological process, I would like to make the point that in the phonology exam, wherever you are, I have students from different universities, there are chances for a general question to be on phonological processes. For example, define what a phonological process and give an illustrative example. You are lucky if you have this part of the question, give an illustrative, provide an illustrative example, because even if you are not asked to provide an illustrative example, as long as you are asked to write a paragraph, then illustrative examples are a must. Okay, so that's point one. Needless to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that a paragraph has to have a topic sentence, has to have an illustrative information, and then a concrete example, then another illustrative information, then another concrete example. In linguistics, life without concrete examples is not life. Just to tell you, a paragraph without enough concrete examples is bound to be a bad paragraph, is bound to failure, just to tell you. Okay, so having said that, I would like now to move to the definition of a phonological process. Why do we have, before, so what is a phonological process? A phonological process, okay, refers to the change or the changes that affect consonants and vowels, that is to say, that affect speech sounds, okay, in the course of, communication. I repeat, a phonological process is a change or changes that affect a speech sound. When, of course, when we talk. But under what circumstances can we have a phonological process? Number one, a phonological process generally takes place when morphemes come together. When a morpheme is juxtaposed, this is what we call juxtaposition. The situation is referred to as juxtaposition of morphemes. Why? Just imagine, for example, you have a morpheme that ends in p. This is hypothetical, okay? P. Another morpheme starts with p. When these meet, the two p sounds can merge, and we obtain p, a p which is geminated, مضاعفة, geminated. This is a phonological process. Okay, so of course in connected speech, but sometimes also in isolated words there might be, but that's fine. So mostly simoshi, they occur in connected speech in case there is juxtaposition of words or morphemes. Okay, Attends. Anyway, I could not come up with an example. I was thinking of French, but I think this suffices. You know, you have look at this. You have let's talk about the ed. What happens when you add the ed to the verb, to the regular verb? It can have three pronunciations. It can have d. It can be t, like worked. D, moved versus worked. So you have d, you have t, and you have decided. Why? It's because of this juxtaposition. It means that the pronunciation of the ed infinitive, the ed, not the infinitive, the ed, the morpheme, the ed, the past tense marker, its pronunciation heavily depends on the last part or the last consonant or the last vowel, the last segment of the root. Okay, so here we have a good example of a phonological process. So phonological processes occur when, you know, morphemes are juxtaposed. Why? Because when morphemes are juxtaposed, we have a situation where some sounds meet some other sounds. And you know, when a sound meets another sound, it influences it. Sounds mutually inter-influence. So when a sound A meets sound B, they become neighbors, of course, they become adjacent. And what happens is that sound A can influence sound B, or sound B can influence sound A, or the two can be fused and they will give us another sound. Very natural. Okay, so this is a good explanation of what a phonological process is. Now, phonological processes can also occur historically, just like that, without necessarily being juxtaposed. Sometimes, you know, you have a sound over the course of time, maybe a century, maybe 10 years, 20 years, there are sounds generally undergo changes. Do you know that the French sound sh, which is the palatal fricative, the voiceless palatal fricative sh, which is a hissing sound, which is a sibilant, this sound emerged from the sound k, like that. And k, over time, it becomes h, and then it becomes sh in French. You see? So it's like that. We call this type of historical evolution of sounds, we refer to that as a weakening process or a lenation process. So we call it weakening or lenation. Lenation like this. Lenation, the sound lenites, means that it becomes weak over history, just like that. It doesn't need any environment. This is exactly what happened to the Amazigh language when it comes to the pronunciation of the th sound. Initially, th was a t before, and r was a q before. You see? But evolution, you know, has made northern dialects, for example, and the Middle Atlas, you know, use the th sound. So this is lenation. It's not due to juxtaposition, as I said, but it's just because of the historical change. Lenation or weakening. The opposite of lenation is fortition. Fortition. Okay. Look at fortition. So this is weakening, and fortition is strengthening. In fortition, you have the root fort, la force, fort, reinforce. So you have this fort with t becoming force. That's why we have force. So that's the thing. So we have lenation processes, fortition processes. Fortition processes is when th becomes t, which is of course less natural. Anyway, I will not disturb my students here with this, but these digressions are good because some of you here join us just to probably share these information. There are chances for some students not to have heard this. I don't know. But it's good to talk about that. Okay. Anyway, so Lamin, another example of progressive assimilation. Yeah, we're coming to that. We're coming to that. See, Lamin. Yes. The earlier sound influences later sound. Dogs. That's true. I fully agree with you. That's a very good example. So I'm coming to this term regressive and progressive assimilation. See, Mustafa, the sound is almost absent in Moroccan Arabic, but it's there in Hassaniya, and also in some Ghibli dialects where you have th. That's true. Ktir would be kthir, and the voiced counterpart, which is a bit, it's not weird, but not really expected. Look, in Wujda, for example, the dialect spoken in Wujda, it's the. They use the sound. They don't use th, but the is there. For example, نقبض السيارة, and anyway, you have other terms, but I noticed that there is a this process, by the way, is called spirantization. Okay, what about X bar in syntax? Selma Bu Lahfa. Yeah, we have just made the point that there is a video before, so just consult it on the Facebook page. There are all the videos that you will need about, and they are explained in a nice way. Don't worry. So just go and consult on this page and also on the Facebook page, Selma. Okay. So anyway, phonological processes can occur due to juxtaposition. That's state one. Number two, they can also occur historically, just like that. The development of sounds naturally. A sound changes naturally. So here we are talking about synchronic changes, like dogs, like moved and worked. These are synchronic because it's dynamic. It's there. It's now. Whatever whenever you bring, the change occurs only because of this juxtaposition. Okay, this is synchronic, but changes can also be diachronic, and processes can occur. Okay, so now that we know what a phonological process is, let me just give you a short history of how phonological processes are or have been viewed in generative linguistics. Okay, starting, of course, from what we refer to as the standard theory, which is the sound pattern of English of Chomsky and Halley, 1968. This is called SPE phonology, the sound pattern of English. The sound pattern of English is also known as the standard theory, okay? Standard theory, or the nonlinear framework. Now, the problem, and this is a good introduction for us to talk about the different phonological processes. So be patient, my S5 students here will probably expect something to the point. So let's have this digression. It's also good to add to your knowledge. You never know. So let me just give you a story. So the first articulation of generative phonology was in the sound pattern of English by Chomsky and Halley. Chomsky, you know him. Halley was a Russian phonologist. So they also have, by the way, another book called The Sound Pattern of Russian. But they have applied a version of generative phonology, which is marked by a lot of abstraction or abstractness. So you have this issue of abstractness of phonology. In generative phonology by Sanford Chain, there is a whole section called How Abstract is Abstract. It means, to what extent should we allow for, for the derivation of a given output based on an input that may be very abstract. And you need a battery of rules, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, rule 4, etc. So, generative phonology is for, the standard theory in Chomsky and Halley is for this idea. Why? Because there was this belief at that time, both in syntax and in phonology. There is this strong belief in the notion of modularity. Just as we have what we call, or what used to be called, the autonomy of syntax principle, people used to think that it's up to the linguist, okay, to explain syntactic phenomena only based on syntactic information. It means if there is something semantic, we should not bring it into the analysis. In the same vein, the sound pattern of English and the disciples who came after were of the belief that when you have a phonological issue to solve, you have to do so based only on phonological information. For example, we know now that much of the change that is witnessed in the sound in a given language, in sound system of a given language, is due, for example, to the type of morpheme. There are, for example, processes that depend on the type of morpheme. This morpheme undergoes the process, but the other one does not undergo the process. So the sound pattern of English, the standard theory will say no, we have to make more effort to come up with rules that apply in a logical order, in some order, and then you derive, no matter how the intermediate rules, no matter how irrelevant these may be, we have to put them there as long as there is something logical. This is linearity. This view was criticized as early as the 1970s. In 1973, there were two linguists, one of them called what's her name? Barbara G. Hooper, but anyway, Hooper and Theo Veneman. Not G. Hooper, no. It's Bernard Hooper and Theo Veneman. The framework is known as the framework of Veneman and Hooper, 1973. And they established a tradition that is referred to as natural generative phonology. So we are moving from the standard theory of phonology, of generative phonology, articulated in the sound pattern of English, and from the 60s. But in 73, there were people who said no, for this abstractness, it doesn't reflect. It's not surface true. They are using this word, surface true. It means that it does not reflect the psychological reality. They are not psychologically real, and therefore we have to find another way of explaining these changes. One key point in this framework of Veneman and Hooper natural generative phonology is that not all phonological phenomena are explicable or can be explained by means of phonological devices alone. There are certain problems that need switching to morphology. The morphological component can inform our phonological analysis, and this is the idea behind morphophonemics. Okay, so usually you have phonemics where you have data that does not depend on that is not morpheme dependent, and you have another data set asking you, for example, what is the morpheme for X, and provide an account for the alternations. This was largely inspired by Theo Veneman and Bernard Hooper as early as 1973. Later on, in 1979, there was a further constraint on phonological theory, and therefore the notion of processes. Okay, this was known this time, that's 1979, by someone called Donegan and another one called Stumpy. The framework is known as Donegan and Stumpy, and the framework is known as natural phonology. What is the tenet of natural phonology? If natural generative phonology puts just one constraint on phonological theory by forcing the linguist to incorporate morphological information to the analysis or into the analysis, natural phonology says no, processes and language processes are only those processes that we can explain physiologically. That is to say, when P becomes F, it's only because it's more difficult to pronounce P, because there is disclosure, involves more effort than just producing a F. T and Th are quite natural, etc. So they are talking about, they describe a phonological process as processes that are explicable articulatorily or physiologically. Anyway, later on, of course, linguistic phonological processes were explained by means of, the nonlinear framework. Nonlinear framework, people no longer talked about consonants and vowels and juxtaposition, but they did that, based on syllable theory and the metrical phonology, or autosegmental phonology, pioneered by Goldsmith from 76 onwards. And of course, there were so many models like feature geometry, there were many models, and the development was fast enough to end up as early as the 1990s in what we now refer to as optimality theory, which has done away with the notion of process altogether. There's also this lexical phonology. There is another approach, Mustafa, called dependency phonology. But the dependency phonology is much more like natural generative phonology, in that they do not believe in cyclicity, the other rule that applies in a cyclical fashion, a recursive fashion, etc. Anyway, nice. So, having said this, now we go back to the point, if our S5ers are watching us here. So, a phonological process is a sound that affects, is a change that affects a sound, maybe because this sound, occurs, this sound, for example, occurs near another sound by virtue of breaking one word from here and another word from here. The two sounds meet, something happens, okay? Or because of this natural, history of a given sound. My dear friends who are asking questions in syntax, would you kindly remind me after we are done with phonological processes? My friends, do not forget to ask me questions once we are done with phonological processes, please. I'm talking about to Picasso. Picasso, please. You are asking a good question, but please let me answer that before, because that's going to help us digress. That's going to make us digress, and therefore neither you nor the people interested in phonology will benefit from this session. Okay, so thank you. Now that we know what a phonological process is, okay, and by the way, phonological process can affect consonants and they can affect vowels. Okay, that's one thing. Now, phonological processes have been described in different ways. The type of process is called the typology of processes or the taxonomy of processes. Different linguists have provided different classifications of processes, but this does not matter for our S5ers here. It doesn't matter. We are here to mention most of them and maybe to account for them by means of a formalism. Okay. Now, let's start with phonological processes. I have made a little list here of the processes to just talk about. In case I forget one, that's the point. Yes. Let's talk about, look, ladies and gentlemen. There are processes that affect whole segments. It means that the whole segment either disappears, that's what we mean a whole segment process by whole segment processes. Either a segment, a consonant or a vowel can disappear. For example, if you have a consonant and it disappears, it means that the process has affected all the whole segment, If you have just this and you have just this that disappears, the segment is still here, but this has gone. It means one feature has been affected. Do you understand? So if it is here and it disappears, this is a process that affects the whole segment. And this is what we refer to as deletion. A deletion process. What is a deletion process? A deletion process is a situation where a given sound, be it a consonant or a vowel, disappears. Why does it disappear? Maybe because of juxtaposition. Mostly, I say mostly. Sometimes they can disappear historically, but in the data that you will have, mostly it's because there is a morpheme that happens to be juxtaposed with another morpheme. All right. So that's deletion. Okay. What is the opposite of deletion? It's insertion. Insertion means what? It means, look, I have nothing here. Suddenly I have the pen. So the pen is inserted. In a word, you don't have this segment, okay? But because you have a sound near another sound, this is inserted, okay? So this is what we refer to as insertion or epenthesis. So let me just, because there might be students who will confuse, they will think that there are 4 processes, but we actually have, it are 2 processes. Let me tell you. Many students are confused between this word, insertion, and epenthesis. Insertion, epenthesis. What is the difference? No difference. There might be a slight, but generally they can be used interchangeably. Most of the time they are used interchangeably. There are people who would, make some little distinction, but we ignore it for the moment. Insertion and epenthesis. I know there are students who prepare for their exams here, and they might find sometimes insertion, sometimes epenthesis, and they think that they are different. No. Okay. So here they are the same. It means what? It means you have a word, consonant, 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 consonant here, and then you have another consonant. And because you have a series of consonants, you need to insert a vowel here. Okay, let's give an example for better. But before that, so you have insertion or epenthesis. These are synonyms. Whether you want to call it insertion or epenthesis, it's fine. The opposite of these is what? Deletion. Deletion. Another word of saying deletion is elision, like this. Elision. Okay? We say, by the way, let's now use the verbs. For you, maybe to use, if you have a paragraph, or for you, just to beautify your answers in phonology, you can convert these into verbs. Not always, insertion, epenthesis. So we say a vowel is inserted, or a consonant is inserted. Epenthesis, a consonant is epenthesized. Okay? To epenthesize, you add eyes here. You know how to do it. We say that a sound undergoes deletion. Undergoes processes. Undergo it. It makes it beautiful. It makes you Shakespearean. Okay, undergo insertion, undergo epenthesis, undergo deletion, undergo elision. Undergo insertion to insert. Undergo epenthesis to epenthesize. Undergo deletion to delete. Undergo elision to elide. We say the sound elides like this. Elides, the verb to elide. Okay, nice. So we have talked about this, the insertion processes, the deletion processes, and then we move on. Okay. For example, when you have, let's bring up a French word, a French expression that we saw before in a previous, but now we are going to write the rule for it. Previously we talked about this in French. So you have this, il y a. Il y a quelqu'un qui blah blah blah. The yes/no question for this is est-ce qu'il y a ou bien y a-t-il? Okay, so we say y a. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then you have this. Why do we say y a-t-il? Where does the t come from? And is it logical? Of course, it is logical. And the t comes between 2 vowels because, as I told you before, vowel are a no in languages. 2 vowels can never meet. Different languages invent different strategies for coping with this vowel cluster called a hiatus. So you can use the word hiatus also in your answers if you have vowel plus vowel. Or if you want to look more sophisticated, okay, you can use hiatal structure, une structure hiatale in French, okay, a hiatal structure. Now, if you would like us to make a rule for this, for those students who are not really, who are maybe looking for ways of formalizing the rule here, so we have inserted a consonant. How can we? What are the features that we can give to t? How can we describe t? T, one of its features is what? T is, how can we distinguish t from other voiceless and voiced consonants? T is, okay, plus coronal, okay, plus coronal, maybe minus continuant, plus coronal, it's a place feature because, you know, the blade of the tongue is involved. It's not velar, it's alveolar, okay? So this t is an alveolar stop. And, we talked about this feature of coronal. So it's plus coronal, t is a coronal, and it's a minus continuant, it means it's a stop. Okay, minus continuant. Maybe we need to specify it also from minus nasal. Yeah, minus nasal, because the nasal is also a minus continuant. Is there any remark when it comes to this? The coronal minus continuant. How can we exclude the here? By adding minus voiced. I think these features perfectly describe the t sound. There is no other sound, maybe that is plus coronal, minus continuant, minus nasal, plus voiced. Okay, so this is a good description of the t sound here. Those of you who are, confused, if you want to describe a given sound, think of a voice feature, a manner feature, and a place feature. Use these terms, the features that we talked about. I think we revised some of them in an exercise that we did twice, I still remember. And I think we worked on more than one exercise. So this is, represents these segments. Okay, this is the feature matrix for this. Okay, so this is inserted. How can I say is inserted? Okay, let me say it again, please. Just to write it in a better way. So here plus coronal. What is it? Yeah, plus continuant. Sorry, it's minus continuant because it's a stop. Minus continuant, and then it's minus nasal, and it's voiceless. All right. So we are describing now a situation where we have insertion. Okay. It means what? It means we had nothing. It means we had nothing here. Nothing. Yeah. If we delete the t, you will have a next to e. It means in this space you have nothing. So nothing is represented by the null set. This is nothing here. Nothing. Nothing like this. Okay. Of course, you have something like this anyway. Nothing is becomes nothing هي هذه. فاش كتكون خاوية هذه. It means you have nothing here. And you have inserted this It means the T, described as minus coronal, minus continuant, minus nasal, and then minus voiced. So it's plus coronal. I said minus coronal. Okay? Yes, Mustafa, that's true. Where is this inserted? Where is indicated by the slash here? It means in this, it's like saying in the following environment. Okay? I repeat. Nothing, zero, nothing, becomes this, which describes the T sound, where in this environment, so we have a vowel before and a vowel after, A and E. Fine, it's V and V. That's what we refer to as the intervocalic position, or we say that it is inserted, yes, intervocalically or in the intervocalic position. So we write V, هاي, ادي, and V. This place here, it refers to this. It means this, we have nothing, and we have something here, where here. Okay? So, yeah. This is how we can represent an insertion process. Now, just imagine instead of insertion, we have deletion. Okay, deletion. Let me see if I can think of an example here. Yes, okay. Let's say we have, how do you pronounce? I will not delete this. But then, so you have next day. Next day. Do we say next day all the time? Or do we say next day? Next day. The T كتمشي. Because you have a T before. Next. No, it's not because you have a T before, but next day. Yeah, because we have a consonant here that is alveolar, and that is an alveolar stop and another alveolar stop. You see, an alveolar stop meeting another alveolar stop. So the pronunciation, as Natalie says, is next day. Meaning what? Meaning that this T deletes. Okay? Deletes or is deleted, both are correct. Okay? This is what we call an ergative verb. Okay. As you may guess rightly, here we have a process called deletion. Insertion. هنا زدنا شي حاجة. On a inséré, un segment. هنا غنديروا العكس. On a déjà un segment, on va l'enlever. غادي نحيدوا هذا السيجمون هذا. Du coup, هاد null set غتولي هنا وهذه غترجع هنا. Pas forcément هذه. شي حاجة اللي what we delete. So, in other words, just to make life easy, in insertion, sorry, let me, okay. Let me do it this way. Insertion means you have nothing, and then you have something, and then you have the environment. This is for insertion. Nothing is insert. Nothing, zero element at the beginning becomes something. Zero, Okay. The opposite, look at how I represent deletion. Deletion is the opposite. It means what? It means I have something. عندي هذه التهنية ها هي بالحق. So for example, this T, which deletes, and then onto for the environment. Just look at the position of zero in relation to something. For example, let's say here T. I am just showing to you here. My purpose is not to describe this precisely, but just to see or to show to the students who may have a problem with this, that if you have a problem of if you have a process of insertion or epenthesis, you means you start when you write the rule, you start from 0 and then you insert something and then you look for the environment. If you have deletion, it means that you have something already there which becomes nothing in this or that environment. I hope you understand, ladies and gentlemen. We have other examples. For example, for instance, in next day, so which is the next day, Natalie says that correctly. Content words are also emphasized in connected speech, whereas function words are not. That's true, but that's more related to stress and vowel reduction, which we are going to see, of course, in a moment. So you have Abdul Amin says friendship becomes friendship. I agree with you fully. That's very interesting. Okay, nice. So let's move on, please. So we have shown the notation for insertion and also for deletion. And this is a call for the ladies and gentlemen here. If you have data that you would like to work on, please send it to me. I think one of the students sent me maybe a few previous exams. So just do that so that we can work on them, just in case there are other rules and notations that we have not covered. Okay, nice. So let's move on, please. We are still talking about, the whole segment processes. So we have talked about insertion. We have talked about deletion. And please, ladies and gentlemen, do not take insertion and epenthesis, deletion and elision as referring to 4 processes. No, you have just 2. The others are synonyms. So insertion / epenthesis, you choose the one you like. And deletion or elision, choose the one you like. Okay, nice. So we have, let's write the list here. So we talked about, oh my God, I'm afraid this does not. So anyway, so we have insertion. We have deletion. Another way of saying insertion is epenthesis. Another way of saying deletion is elision, like this. Elision. I hope it's clear. Elision, لا ماشي clear. Clear more. No. Elision, like this. Okay, so insertion or epenthesis, just for some students not to be confused. Thank you. Yes, and the verb is to epenthesize and to elide if you want to make your your work or your answers more attractive, more sophisticated. We have another process. This time, by the way, insertion, deletion, they can affect consonants, they can affect vowels. It all depends. As long as you have an element that disappears, it's deletion. As long as you have an element that was not there, but suddenly you find it there, it's an insertion or an epenthesis. Now let's move on to the discussion of another process. This process that affect, of course, we are still, that's part 1. Part 1 or category 1. Part 1. I'm distracted by some of the comments. Well, maybe there's a discussion. We can discuss between the friends here. There's probably a discussion. Anyway, so we have insertion, deletion as examples of processes that affect the whole segment, the totality of the segment. Insertion, deletion, this can affect consonants or vowels, no problem. And we have another process that we're going to talk about. It's the process of coalescence. Look at this, coalescence. Coalescence. This is how I write E. Look at this. Coalescence. The process of coalescence. It means what? The process of coalescence refers to a situation where a consonant meets another consonant, okay? But instead of one of them influencing the other, or this influencing that, The two, and there is no influence, there is no deletion, there is nothing. What happens is that these two merge. They merge and they become one segment. You see, they become one segment. I have examples to give you from like from English, but the more in Terifit is a very rich, the process is very productive in Terifit, and I will tell you why. And by the way, it's also productive as we move from Spanish to Italian. I will tell you. Now, let me start with the English, just to be fair and square. Start with English, the English word. We have would. Would, look at how I write would. Look. Would you, blah, blah, blah. Would you, etc. Do we pronounce it as would you? No. Because we have d sound here and a y sound here. D is an alveolar stop and y is a palatal glide. When these meet in fast speech, how do d, look at this, d plus y, they become, both of them become what? Become j. So they have given us a totally different sound. It's would you. Okay? The same thing for during. It's during, etc. So you have, this is a good case of coalescence. We say that the sounds d and y undergo the process of coalescence when they meet in fast speech. There is a verb again. We say d and j coalesce, d and y coalesce into, look at how I express this, they coalesce into the affricate j. Is that fine? Good. Now let me just give you an even more interesting example. I say even more interesting because it is productive and it applies to all cases, just to tell you. Okay. In the Terifit variety of Amazigh, for example, we have, or there is, okay, there are words that, masculine words that end in l, which are also pronounced as r in some dialects. Okay? Let me have a sip. Let me just provide you with an example. As I was sipping, I was also thinking up the example that the majority may understand, because it's a common word. If you want to say a bucket in Terifit, a bucket, wastal. You say, there are people who say this, Abu Qal, but there are also those who say Abu Qar. From there comes the derogatory word buqal, to say that someone stole. يعني ما فاهمش مزيان ولا حاجة. It's from it. Okay, nice. Well, so Abu Qal or Abu Qar, so I put them on the same, because this is free variation. In some dialects, it's with the l. In some other dialects, it's with r. In the dialect I speak natively, it's this r. This r that comes from l. It's rotacism. Anyway, we will not talk about the details, but I'm just now illustrating this process of coalescence in a clear way. Now, we know that in Amazigh in general, if you want to derive the masculine from and the feminine from the masculine, you add t before and t after. That's why we have Terifit, Tashilhit, Tamazigh, and anything. And we have these derivations also in Moroccan Arabic, for example, Tam'almit, Tarjlit, but that comes from Amazigh, of course. I put this between brackets. What is interesting is this. Now, if you want to derive a feminine from a masculine, in Amazigh in general, you add t before and then t after, and this is in morphology, this is referred to as a circumfix. It's circumfixation process. We will talk about morphology later on. Now, You know also that in many languages, even Moroccan Arabic, for example, and also in in Amazigh, we use the t and to derive the feminine, a masculine, for example, أحنجية, ثحنجيات, for example, أربات, تربات, أفرخ, تفرخ. It all depends on the dialect, the variety that you are using. But we also typically use the t circumfix to derive the diminutive باش تصغير باش كنفيدوا بها التصغير. For example, كنقولوا فوس ولا أفوس. When I say fust, it doesn't mean that it's feminine. It means that it's a small one. For example, a baby's hand. That's why that's the same pattern that we have in Moroccan Arabic. We have al-yid. For example, when you are talking about a newborn baby's hand, for example, you don't say اليد ديالو, you say اليديدة ديالو. You say اليديدة, داك التقليل. It's a diminutive, which is usually feminine. Okay, I put this between brackets again. Now, if you want to have, so أبقر here means a big bucket, a bucket which is big. You have a lot of water in it. But if you need a small one is pronounced as such. It's the, vu. This is a v, it's not a b. So maybe this is how you say v, because it's a bilabial fricative. You write it this way. And then u, and then q, and then a. Look at this. L and t coalesce. That's a process of coalescence. And as Ibtisam Khasha rightly says, ثبقت, that's exactly what I am after. This t become ch. Becoming ch, and it's very systematic. It's not systematic just at the level of this morpheme, but also when you have meeting in terrific, like khalti, which comes from Moroccan Arabic, it becomes khachi. Ultma, which is my sister, it becomes uchma, etc. So we have this process of l and t giving us ch. And by the way, and amazingly, this is the same process that we find as we move from Spanish, for example, to Italian. There is this pattern. I can give you the word mucho in Spanish, which is much, mucho or mucha gente, mucho dinero, and in Italian it's molto or motto. Molto, this depends on the variety. So we have the same thing here, the same process taking place. Okay, now how can we formulate this as a rule? Okay, so let becoming ch, as is this case. So the rule is, okay, so we have so how do we do this for coalescence? Okay, we may write something like this, let becoming just like this ch. So here it's what is ch? How do you formulate ch? What is the feature that we can use to mark the ch sound? No, you don't remember? It's because ch is an affricate, and therefore it's delayed release. Okay, so it's plus delayed release. Okay, but we cannot speak of an environment here because both of them are involved. One way of doing this is delayed release. Thank you. Yes. If I say, for example, l becomes ch before t, it means that t is there. So maybe this sequence can be realized as delayed release, just like that. Whenever they meet, there's this delayed release. Okay, so let's move. Yeah, because that's a process also known as affrication, but affrication here is just the consequence of this. Okay, so you know what coalescence is now. So I have given you this example from English, like would you like, which becomes would you like, and you have the example from Terifit when it comes to the realization of when they meet, they become they are fused. And by the way, coalescence is also known as fusion. Fusion, the process of fusion. Okay, so let's move on, please. All right. Unless you have questions in this regard, please. ماشي ديال syntax. And you have the famous whole segment process known as metathesis. La metathèse. Metathesis like this. Metathesis. Metathesis in Arabic, it's referred to as al-qalb, sayrurat al-qalb. It means al-qalb, ماشي the heart. The qalb means you can qalbu, one becomes two and two becomes one. They swap positions. So what is metathesis as a phonological process? Metathesis is a phonological process whereby sounds swap positions. Process is admittedly rare, like when you have za'ma, which is pronounced as zima in some dialects, and I don't know. There are people who mispronounce, not who mispronounce, but who there are some dialects very restricted where these are attested. Okay. In English, there are dialects who would say ax instead of ask. Again, these are very restricted. The word asterisk in French is asterisk in English. So these are examples of metathesis. Okay. So here for metathesis, the rule is usually to write, for example, consonant, consonant, consonant. And then you have maybe consonant 1, 2, 3 becomes C, 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 consonant 1, 3, 2. That's how you indicate metathesis, ladies and gentlemen. I have given you this example, but just in case you have this in the data, just in case you have a word like ask, which surfaces as X, okay? You can do it by numbers. You can write, you see, consonants or CVC. It all depends on what you have. So 1, 2, 3. This is what is important. It's this numbering that shows that this 3 is actually here. The last consonant here is number 3, but the last consonant here is number 2. It means that we have swapped positions. Okay, so so let's say little children say na instead of ana. But I don't know where metathesis is there. It's not, at least to me, it's not clear. I don't know what the actual word is. Is it me? For example, you say ana. I don't see any metathesis there. Natalie says, okay, Saatla, maybe you can make this point clearer by providing probably another example. Natalie says, children often use metathesis in their acquisition. That's obviously the case because sounds follow an implicational hierarchy in their acquisition. That's for sure. My nephew used to say pizza instead of pizza. Well, this is no accident because he's your nephew, Natalie. I'm just joking. Natalie. That's interesting. So you can have a tipza. Why? Maybe because the t sound is the sound that is acquired before p sound. That's for obvious reasons. The children start with the t, they produce this the t when they babble. Yeah. Look at this. See, Mohammed Bouknifi says, يحسبني, يسحبني, Farhan, Fahran, but that's Hakim. That's an idiolect. It's not. Okay, thank you for these these examples. Hiba says children sometimes produce metathesized forms as they simplify word pronunciations. For instance, spaghetti, Pasquetti, you are absolutely right. Most of the metatheses are attested in child language acquisition. Yes, in Susan Stinin Larba instead of Larba. That's true. أصل العربة المقر السوق ثمن السوق. أكاسي سعيد. أصل العربة الدوخ السفر. Very nice. So, and by the way, أصل العربة, العربة, الأربع, in Quranic schools, it was the day when every student, every pupil, every young child has to bring 1 dirham or a coin or an egg or whatever to the teacher. I don't know whether this tradition continues to exist. Okay, Muhammad Rida Itqan says dialectal metathesis acts. That's true. That's true. That's a problem. That's an example I have mentioned earlier, and you are confirming it, see Muhammad. Now let's move on to probably the processes that are more common. Okay, and these are the processes that do not affect the whole segment. Instead of ana. Oh yes, yeah, that's a good example now. Now it's clear, Abdullah. Thank you. All right, now let's move on to the discussion of phonological processes that affect not whole segments, but just part of the segment, which means that they affect only some features. After all, what does it mean for a whole segment process to take place? When we talk about insertion, deletion, coalescence, metathesis, it means all the features of a sound are involved. Why do we have deletion? Because all of the features disappear automatically, the whole sound will disappear. So we refer to that as whole segment process or whole feature process, but it's more known as whole segment processes, okay? Now let's move on to talk now about the sounds that, the sound changes, that is to say phonological processes, that involve only 1 or 2 features. And this is just, these are processes that affect segments partially, okay? Nice, all right. Fine. Hiba is talking about delayed release. Are you referring to an affricate? I don't know. So is it a response to something we said earlier, or is it a comment that has arrived late? Okay. Now let's talk about some of the processes that affect part of a sound, vowel or a consonant, and not all of it. Let's start first and foremost with the famous process on Earth. There is hardly any language that does not have this process of assimilation. What is assimilation? Assimilation is a situation in which we have, or let's call it a phonological process because it is one. So assimilation is a phonological process whereby, look, a consonant, by the way, assimilation is for consonants, okay? I don't know if I can find another pen. I don't have any here in the drawer. I don't know if you could wait a minute. I will go and fetch one. I hope I will find a good one. I'm coming. Well, I have some. All right. So we're talking about partial assimilation. Let's just talk about assimilation. Thank you, Natalie. She says we can wait. Thank you very much. So Abdullah means assimilation sound becomes more similar to a neighbor. That's exactly what I'm about to say. So we have a consonant and another consonant. Assimilation takes place. Okay, let's imagine that. Wait a minute. We will dramatize. Okay, so we have 2 colors here. Oh, not 2 colors. My God, yeah, we have 2 colors here. Let's imagine that we have a consonant that is black next to another consonant which is blue. Yes? Because this occurs near this, it gives it some of its features. For example, it gives it some of its blackness. Okay? So this consonant, while it keeps its original identity of blue, by virtue of being of occurring immediately after this black sound, it has given it its blackness. I hope you understand. So what is assimilation? By the way, you can say assimilation. And if you want to make, to beautify your writing, you can talk about an assimilatory process. Okay? So in assimilation, we have a sound taking the features of another sound. Two sounds coming together. One of them gives, the other sound its features, or at least some of its features. Here, I would love to stop here and give examples of different types of assimilation, because this is where you have most of the work, dear students. If I think my S5 students are already asleep, because I have only 13 people here watching me. وفينكم? You asked me to do, to schedule this live session. 13, so I have here, I can see Mohammed Rida Itqan, I can see Lamin Morshid, and Hiba, and Natalie. قولي شي خمسة, I don't know. It's ironic. Never mind. Let me just finish this anyway. So here, this is assimilation. In assimilation, we have types, we have categories. We have two dimensions along which we describe an assimilatory process. We have the dimension, thank you, Chernobyl, thank you. You turned out to be an S5er, thank you. Anyway, we have directionality. Assimilation can go this direction and can go this direction. For example, in our situation here, we have a consonant and a consonant. In some languages, in some situations, it is this consonant that influences this consonant. But there are situations where it is this consonant that looks back and influences its neighbor. Yes? All right. Now, when the source, this is called the source, and this is the target. Anyway, so if it's this direction, if it's this direction, if the process goes like this, for example, word, and you have cats. Is the process forward or backward? Is assimilation forward or backward? I will see. Which sound changes? It's this. Okay? D is voiced, and therefore what we have as set here becomes z. So the process is going this direction. It means it looks forward and it impacts its neighbor. You see? So we say, we have a situation like this. This influences this. Here we are talking about progressive assimilation. Progressive assimilation. Progressive assimilation. Progressive assimilation can be an assimilation of voice, of manner, of place. It all depends. There are so many examples for so many languages. Anyway, I hope you understand this. So this is called progressive assimilation. Another way of referring to progressive assimilation is anticipatory assimilation. Anticipatory because we anticipate the other sound. So anticipatory. All right. Now, there is a situation where, for example, the process is backward. For example, you have a consonant and another consonant. This time, the blue consonant affects the previous one. So that the black consonant takes some blueness from its neighbor, like this consonant. I don't know if you can distinguish the colors, but anyway, it doesn't go like this, it goes like this. So it's this direction. It's like the consonant looks backward and influences its neighbor. Okay? So here we are talking about, as Natalie and Hiba rightly mentioned, this is a case of regressive assimilation. Regressive assimilation. Regress means going backward. Regressive assimilation. Okay, good. So this is one dimension. Just to bring. By the way, we need an example here. An example is, again, I will. The example I will give you again are, because I don't think of any other language. Let me see if I have taken a note here. Progressive, regressive. I'm afraid I cannot provide an example except from Terrifit. Anyway, in Terrifit again, you remember the t that I talked about? Okay, the t that I talked about for the feminine, this t here. Do you know that this t is very poisonous? Is very toxic? Why? Look, ladies and gentlemen, whatever sound comes before this t in Terrifit, whatever it is, this sound has to make it voiceless. Donc, if I have a voiced sound here before t, this sound should be voiceless. Okay? Let's say, let me, I'm just trying to, yeah, let's say Amzur, let's say. Amzur, which means the ear. And that's, by the way, it's Panamazir in the sense that it's the same word everywhere. Okay? Amzur. If you want to provide the diminutive for this, then you have to add the word t here. But because you have t here and this is voiced, this r will become a ch sound. It becomes tamzucht, not tamzucht. Okay? Impossible. Thank you. So we can also, thank you, Natalie, for helping me with this. I hope you understand this. So the t sound influences the previous sound. It devoices it. It makes it voiceless. That's exactly the point I was making. And Natalie, now you are also giving us another example of regressive assimilation. Thank you. In regressive assimilation, that person, yes, I would rather take, that's probably in fast speech Hiba, but the one that is established is Natalie's example. So where you have the in, and then you have possible. Although Hiba, you are absolutely right when you are saying that. So we have n as a prefix, and we have p here. The difference is that the p here influences the place of articulation of its neighbor. Again, this is a good example of regressive assimilation. So you have impossible, inflammable will be inflammable. It's not inflammable, but this does not. It's a labiodental nasal, which is rare in languages, but we do have it in English. Okay, so you have these, and you have also Hiba's example. The person, but look, Hiba, the person. It doesn't become Hiba here. In that person, I'd rather call it a process of deletion. Because why? Because you have that, and then you have person. This ends up in that person. What we have actually is the disappearance of the t sound. Unless you want to make of it total assimilation. We will come to this issue later. Only 9 people are following us. I don't know whether we We can add a few minutes. Maybe people are asleep, and I keep talking about processes here. Maybe this is the wrong moment we're talking about processes. Voicing assimilation like cats and dogs. Now that's a good, that's a good example of an assimilatory process. Anyway, I guess you know now what regressive and progressive assimilation refer to. Another dimension along which to distinguish, other types of assimilation is whether the two consonants are close to each other or they are distant from each other. For example, so here we are talking, wait a minute. So here, consonant, consonant. This consonant influences this consonant. Is there anything between them? No. So here we are talking about contiguous assimilation. This is a good example of contiguous. What is contiguous assimilation? Another way of saying contiguous assimilation is contact assimilation. Contact assimilation. Thank you, Sadatima. Thank you. All right. Okay. Anyway, thank you. Maybe that's an idea. Yes, Silami. Yes. So contiguous assimilation refers to an assimilation process where the two sounds that are involved in this assimilation are near each other. They are close to each other. Okay. So we are talking about contiguous. The word contiguous in English means coterminous, means they are adjacent. For example, two countries that are contiguous means that there is a line, a frontier between them. They are contiguous. Yani one next to each other. So this is contiguous assimilation. For example, the example of voice assimilation, the example of regressive assimilation that we have seen, the example from the terrific devoicing that we have seen, all these types of assimilations are contiguous assimilation or contact assimilation because there is a contact between the two sounds that are involved. The opposite, and I will have examples here from Moroccan Arabic this time, okay, is when you have a consonant, okay, and another consonant, and between them there are consonants or consonants and vowels. For example, there is a vowel here, and there is another consonant, and this affects this. Here, there is nothing between them. Life is good, influence each other. But here, no. Here, the influence, it selects another consonant, that is distant. So here we are talking about the opposite of contiguous is non-contiguous. Non-contiguous means they are not close to each other. Non-contiguous like this. Non-contiguous. Another word for non-contiguous is distant assimilation. Distant. So you choose the one you think is relevant. All right. Emphasis is yes. Rather than bilabial, not biblical. It's never biblical. Okay, I think it's a typo beyond the book. I think it's just a typo. Thank you. Okay, so you have here two types of assimilation. We have contiguous assimilation, non-contiguous assimilation. For contiguous assimilation, we have given enough examples. For non-contiguous assimilation, or what we call distant assimilation, we have the famous example from Moroccan Arabic. Okay. What is number 2 in Moroccan Arabic? It's juj. It comes from zuj, from the Arabic zawj, a pair. Okay, juj. And in Oujda, around Oujda, they say Zouj. And the Algerian dialects, in Algerian dialects, in some of the Algerian dialects, this is Zouj. Jawj means tani or Zawj. All right? So that's Zouj. إخواننا التوانسة, what do they say? Our Tunisian friends, they say Zouz. Anyway, that's the thing. So we have Zouj here, and we have Shams. Shams. In Moroccan Arabic, it's Shimsh. Okay, Shimsh. Maybe you need a shfa vowel here. Anyway, so that's not what is at stake. So we have Shimsh, Zouj, Shimsh, Jij for Zoujaj, Jij for Zij. You see some in the Eastern dialects around Oujda, for example, they would say Zij, and they don't say Shimsh. Some of them say Simsh. Simsh like that. I heard it. Okay. So what does this mean? This means that what we have is okay. So we have the j sound here. This was a z. Okay. Sorry. So initially we have. Sorry. So let me pick up this. So we have this Zouj, but this has influenced not its neighbor, but it has gone beyond. The U, the vowel here, and it made it J to look like it. The same thing happened for Shams, which becomes Shimsh. This influences Shams, yeah. And the same thing for J and Zij, Zoujaj. Donc normally it's this, so this has influences. It's in both directions. This is a good illustration of. Of how a sound can affect another sound that is far from it, and this is what we refer to as non-contiguous assimilation or distant assimilation. Okay, so I hope it is clear now here. Some students are expecting rules. Maybe we can, I don't know, they are not here, but anyway, we will still work with the rules. I need specific questions in this regard, okay? So let's exhaust these assimilation, dissimilation. So let's reserve today's session just for the definition of these processes, and then if time does not permit, we can defer the discussion of rules to tomorrow or after tomorrow, if only to take just 1 hour to do that. All right. Now let's move on with the, so after assimilation, there is its opposite. What is it? It's dissimilation. Dissimilation. What is dissimilation? While assimilation is a situation where two sounds look more like each other, in dissimilation we have the opposite. We have this sound meeting a sound that looks like it. This one says, no, I will not be like you, I will be different. You see? So in some languages, it's preferable to have these differing shapes, these differing entities, than to have something like this. Okay? Why? Why? Because, if phonological processes, and we forgot this, why do phonological processes happen? Why do they happen in languages? The answer is to make articulation easy. If you have this as a general question, why do languages undergo phonological processes? This is a question that circulates in exams. Your answer should be twofold. Number one, here or here. Okay, let's start from here. Number one, phonological processes take place to make articulation easy. Why? Because it's easier to say impossible. Look at this. C'est la loi de la moindre effort. It's the least effort principle. So you have impossible is easier to pronounce than impossible because there is a maneuver. The brain has to send messages. So there's some complexity there. In, and then you say m. You are pronouncing n as a nasal, and m is a nasal. Two nasals with two movements. It's difficult. So because we are by nature lazy, we forget the n. So it's impossible. And that's because p is already a bilabial. So why should I pronounce an alveolar nasal and then a bilabial nasal? Go directly, a bilabial nasal. So it's like this. This is why languages undergo phonological processes. Number one, you see, as I said, to make articulation easy. Number two, sometimes there are processes that optimize syllable structure. For example, there are situations where syllable structure, you see, there are situations where the syllable structure is violated. There are languages, for example, who have a consonant vowel or consonant vowel consonant. And through juxtaposition, you will have consonant, 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 vowel, consonant. So a phonological process has to interfere in order to prevent this state of affairs. Anyway, phonological processes generally take place to ease articulation and to optimize syllable structure. But there are processes like dissimilation. علاش عندنا dissimilation? Assimilation is a good example of a phonological process that serves the purposes of easing articulation. For dissimilation, it's the opposite. It's not the articulation that is easy, but when you dissimilate, when two sounds are like this, not like this, if they are like this, you may conceive of them as though they were the same, and your ear will not really be able to distinguish the two. But when they are like this is distinct from this. So dissimilation takes place for auditory purposes, for acoustic, let's say, for acoustic reasons, in order for the ear to distinguish them. Okay, so that's the idea. And what is dissimilation with all this hodgepodge? What is dissimilation? Dissimilation is a situation where you have a consonant that looks like its sister, if a consonant is feminine, of course. Julia Kristiva thinks that consonants are masculine and vowels are feminine. God knows what explanation was provided in this regard. Okay, so you have this consonant, consonant. When you have a situation like this is a no-no in some languages. This has to change color. So the blue necessarily has to become black. Good. Do we have examples of dissimilation? Again, dissimilation is not as frequent as is assimilation. I repeat, dissimilation is a rare process. Assimilation is widespread in languages. Now, let me give you an example of assimilation from English and from Tashilhit, just to vary a little bit. Okay, so let's take these adjectives in English. From table, you have the word tabular. From doctor, you have the word doctoral. Okay. From people, you have popular. Popular. From periphery, you have the word peripheral. Okay, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Can you provide an example like this, where you have this prefix r with the last word before the prefix, which is a r sound? I repeat, can you find a word where you have the last word, the last element before the r prefix or suffix? I'm sorry, it's not a prefix, it's a suffix. which is r here. In other words, can you provide a word where you have something like this? In the same vein, can you provide a word where you have something like this? Like doctoral, but this time with an L here. The answer is no, you can't. Why? Because we are face to face with a good example of dissimilation. The R, notice please, and notice also how languages are intelligent. There is something mysterious about languages. Look, we have here L and R, and we have here L and R. Here we have R and L, and we have R here and L. So it's either we have L and then R, or R and then L. But we certainly cannot have L and L, nor can we have R and R. Why? It's because these two sounds, if they meet L and L, just imagine we have instead of tabular, we have tabulal. You see, in the pronunciation, we're tabul, and people will not really distinguish the two because L and L are similar, so they have to make one sound different so that it can be, perceivable by the ear. Okay? Of course, as Abdullah says correctly, Mr. Abdullah Raji, the L and R are liquids. So dissimilation is minimal because there is this economy principle in languages. You see, when you make a change, it has to be minimal. It has to be enough in this case. The change should be enough to make the sounds different. That's the reason why, for example, the R here, the L here has been changed to L, which is the nearest sound to L, because both of them are liquids, except that it's delateralized. It's not a lateral liquid anymore. All right? So that's why this language, English, for example, which, by the way, is based on Latin, these languages have not chosen, for example, to use T instead of R, populate, because they will have gone out of the family of liquids. You see? It's just within the family. That's dissimilation is within the family generally. It's explicable and it's normal and natural. I hope you understand this, ladies and gentlemen. So in order to write a rule for this dissimilation process, it's easy. You don't call it dissimilation. You see, Ibn Isa Sukaina, she writes CK. I don't know what you mean. Is it okay or okay? Faiza says yes. Ibn Isa, clear. Thank you. Very good. Okay. All right. That's really nice. Zahra, yeah, especially for kids, they have that. And I gave the example of Karim, and you gave the example of Zahra. Okay, nice. So let's. So how can we account for these? How can we account for this rule of dissimilation? In formal English, we say the L dissimulates into an R if before it there is a L sound. Okay. Otherwise, but this is a morphophonemic process. I don't know if my S5 students are dealing with morphophonemic exercises, but let's just do it. Let's call it. Let's use. By the way, my friends, I open a bracket because I received a question about the brace notation. In order to represent a morpheme, this is different from representing a phoneme and an allophone. So let me just open a bracket here. These square brackets are generally used when we write the actual pronunciation, that is to say, an allophone or a phonetic form. This is made to represent a phoneme. The phoneme, it means it's unpronounced, it's abstract. Usually you find these at the beginning, Like, for example, slash becomes like that. So this is a phoneme. Why do we have slashes? Just for you to know, it's because this is like the absolute value, القيمة المطلقة, the absolute value. It means it's the absolute, it's the abstract, the perfect in a sense. And this is the derivation. If you have a morpheme, then you need to, we generally write it like this, between braces. Okay. So if you have a morpheme that is a prefix, if you have a morpheme that is a prefix, it means what? It means you write something here, and then you have a plus here. If it is a suffix, this means that you have to write. So, yeah, it means this. And the plus here, pluses here inside the brace, refer to the morpheme boundary. It means that you have a prefix here or a suffix in a morpheme boundary. Okay, good. So, but I don't know how, to what extent I should go in this, because I want to explain, yes, but I don't want to be confusing, because I really don't know what the students cover. I don't know whether they do morphophonemics or they just do phonemics. So it's really difficult. So I need maybe a message from you, ladies and gentlemen, the ones who are interested, specifically the ones who are preparing for the S5 phonology exam, just to see whether I can introduce more phonemic rules or just phonemic rules. So I'm expecting probably a message from you. If it's not today, then tomorrow. But anyway, let's reserve today's session just to talk about the definition and the examples of assimilation. By the way, Professor, in Marrakech, students don't study core linguistics until S6, so I assure you your videos will be helpful when the time comes, hopefully, inshallah. Thank you, Sabla. So you are from Qat'iyat University. Really nice to meet you. I know a few students, some of whom are very kind. Really, they have been very faithful followers. So in S5, they have applied linguistics among other subjects. So we'll be able to discuss with these things. We dealt with it. Ibtisam Khasha. Ibtisam, I don't know which university you come from. Hello, we want to know everything. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, really, Asma Sadiq. So I have a suggestion, waiting for Ibtisam to tell us whether she belongs to our faculty, or she's from Marrakech or from another city, just to know, because she says we did it, we dealt with it. It's good to know which universities, so that I can take these things into account. Oh, that's very nice, yeah. Thank you very much for joining and for yes, with Mr. Murshid. Okay, so you studied with Mr. Murshid. Really nice. So you studied with a scientist. Good. So thank you. Let's just finish these things very quickly, and perhaps we can come tomorrow to express, these things in terms of rules. I think it's better. Tomorrow or after tomorrow, I will. You are from Ibn Tufail. Okay, Miss Asma, thank you for letting me know. So I know that at Ibn Tufail, they especially when it comes to phonology and syntax, they do advanced stuff. That's really interesting. Okay. Nice. So let's move on again with regressive, etc. Well, let's continue our journey with these processes first to know what they are, and then that's good. The same faculty means at our faculty. Ibtisam, thank you for letting me know. So this is something I'll take into account in my next video, because 2 hours have already elapsed and we have other processes to deal with. So I will come back to you, as soon as possible. Now let's move on. So you know what dissimilation is here. Now another example from dissimilation comes from tashhit. For example, you have the word, this word, which is kriz. It's shiriz in the Middle Atlas. In Tamazight and in Tarif, it is shaz. So kriz here if you want to derive the doer of the action or the agentive morpheme, the one who does the action, all that you need to do is to add M. That's why we have, so it's mkres, and the shepherd is called mksa because you have ksu or ksa, which means to take the herd to the grazing field. So you have mkres here. You insert an a here, it becomes mkres, mksa, mkres. But let me give you this word, limit, for example. Limit. The one who is learning, who is doing the action of learning, limit is to learn. You know, is normally it's limit. It's like mkres. But again, because you have another here, okay, this dissimilates into n. So the surface form is nlmed, not amlmed. You have, of course, other examples. This is just to show very directly and very quickly what dissimilation is. Okay, yeah. So the best professor of phonology passed away. Oh, Allah yarhamu مسكين. Allah yarhamu. Allah yarhamu. Yeah. Okay, nice. So let's just finish these processes. So we talked about assimilation, dissimilation. Maybe there are other processes like I got my BA, Ben Isa said, Ben Isa Sukaina. I got my BA 3 years ago from Abdul Malik Sadi. Yes, and I am revising with you because I love linguistics. Thank you. Thank you, Sukaina. Thank you, really. It's a pleasure to find people who have come here just for the sole interest or with the sole interest in knowing, in discovering, maybe, and broadening their knowledge and honing their knowledge. I don't know. I don't mean that you did not know and then you have come here to know, but probably you have come here just to refresh your mind and to brush up on your linguistics. And thank you very much. Really grateful. Okay. Well, let me see whether there are remaining processes. Another process that is well known is vowel harmony. Vowel harmony, just to tell you directly, vowel harmony is just one way of saying assimilation, except that this is assimilation among vowels. So call it vowel harmony, just to make life easy for students who think that it's something, different. I cannot find examples of systematic examples of vowel harmony in the languages around us. But the language that is typically a vowel harmonic language, where there is a lot of vowel harmony, a lot of cases of clear cases of vowel harmony, is Turkish. So I don't know if those of you who know Turkish, there is this suffix som or shem, something like this. I don't know Turkish, but this suffix changes depending on the vowel. The vowel of the suffix changes depending on the vowel of the root. So we have few examples in Moroccan Arabic that are just occasional examples, like when you say, for instance, kilometre. There are people who would say kolomit, stin kolomit. Why? It is kilometre. So e becomes u because later you have another u sound. So kolomit instead of kilometre. Okay, you have these, examples. But anyway, what I would like you, yes, in Turkish, yes, yeah, you have this. Abdullah Amin is also citing Turkish as a classical example for vowel harmony. But for the students who are confused here, vowel harmony is much like assimilation among consonants. For consonants, we talk about assimilation. For vowel harmony, we talk about among vowels, we talk about vowel harmony. Look, in assimilation, we have contiguous, non-contiguous. In vowel harmony, we don't have this. Why? Because we cannot have a vowel next to another vowel. This is a hiatus. This is impossible among languages. All right. Nice. Let me see if there are other. Yeah, you have others, but you have the process of. There's a process called affrication. Affrication very simply means that you have a stop that becomes affricative. I'm sorry, that becomes an affricate. Okay, like the example that we saw in the previous data, t becomes ch before high vowels. So this is basically this is the process. There are other minor processes like spirantization. Let me talk about this. Spirantization. This is how you write spirantization. Sorry. Spirantization like this. Spirantization. Spirantization is a process whereby a stop becomes a fricative, and it's a very natural process. So you have stop becoming fricative, mostly in intervocalic positions, but there are other other environments where you can have a fricative, a stop becoming fricative. A good case is Spanish. Spanish is well known for spirantization, where, for example, you have a stop like the word banda, or banca. Let's say banca. This is a b sound. It's a voiced bilabial stop, but when you add this prefix la, this creates the environment for b to be between two vowels. So, as a consequence, a spirantization process is produced so that b becomes v. This is how you write v. It's not a v, it's a v, it's bilabial. So you write it like this in IPA, where between two vowels. Okay, nice. I feel I am a bit tired, so maybe for the rules we can leave them until tomorrow with good. I'll do some preparation by providing examples. It's better to provide examples. I will also look for some previous exams, and if you can hear me and if you have previous exams, please send them to me so that we can write the rules clearly. The plural in Turkish, lar, ler. Oh, what's that? Dakikalar. Dakikalar, but oh, I'm sorry. That Turkish is a difficult language for me to read, let alone to pronounce. But thank you, Natalie, because I see that you have these umlauted vowels that indicate harmony, because the lar becomes lir, meaning that there is this. The process is widespread in Turkish, and maybe I look for data in order to write these rules on that are related to vowel harmony. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, this is it for phonology. I'm exhausted, and I don't know if we can add a few minutes discussion. Maybe we can afford 5 minutes or so, because you are 19 students here, 19 friends here, students and professors. So tell me. Marble. So what does that illustrate as a process, Mr. Itqan? Marble. That's a case of dissimilation. Yes. Thank you, Professor. I came late. I was working, and Mr. Latif the live. I will. Thank you, Asma Sadiq. Really nice of you. Yes, for sure, no problem, Professor. Thank you for your valuable time. You are most welcome. Tomorrow I will be involved in two exams, and this has made me be involved in a lot of preparation. I mean, I will serve as a jury member for a promotion exam, and I wish the candidates all the best. And I'm really sorry for not being able to do the second part relating to the rules. But I think we have had this survey with some examples of a survey of the basic processes that students can expect in a phonology course. Thank you very much, everyone here. Mr. The Pragmatist Buknifi, thank you very much. Okay, so you are sending, is Buknifi here, Mr. Mustafa Morshid? Here is a good opportunity to bear the torch of sociolinguistics. Inshallah, why not? Sociolinguistics also needs its researchers. Over the last decade, there have been studies in sociolinguistics, but again, maybe more studies are related to what we can call macro sociolinguistics, but there's definitely a lack of micro sociolinguistics. Okay, micro means it's just like the work of William Labov, not just talking about general issues. Okay, nice. Natalie here follows E type vowel harmonic intercation. Okay, yeah, there is this rule that I just could not remember the data, Natalie, but you were there to help me with those examples that illustrate the process in a very clear way. Thank you very much. Now, I just wonder whether there are certain urgent questions that we can address before we call it a day. Otherwise, we bid farewell in hopes of meeting on another occasion. Okay. There were some students who asked a few questions. When they disappeared, I asked them to type their questions, but they disappeared. They are swept from view. I don't know why they did not show here. But anyway, I hope that they will re-ask the question once again when we meet tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone. Everyone is asking me to, sorry, is one of you saying that I am tired? I am tired, of course. So, Natalie, muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Natalie. Si Mustafa Muhammad Rida Ibqan is also my friend. Si Mustafa, you are the friend of everyone. Everyone appreciates you. Everyone likes you. Thank you, Si Buknifi. Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, Natalie, Abdullah, Muhammad, Asma, Abdullah, Natalie, or everyone whose name, including those whose names I cannot mention. So let's meet on another occasion, inshallah. Thank you very much. I hope this session has been of some use. I'Timad is also with us here, considering my question. Yalla, Picasso, yalla, we are waiting for you, please. Yalla, tell us. Remind me of your question, please, Picasso. We are waiting for Picasso's question, and I hope I will be able to answer it in the state in which I am. Picasso, would you kindly paste your question? That's Picasso GSM. Thank you, Natalie, for placing this comment, this nice remark, this encouraging remark. All right, please share the link to this channel in the groups and with the people that you think will find this interesting. And this will be really encouraging for more effort. And you see, nice. Well, see, Picasso, we are still waiting for the question. Okay, waiting for Picasso to ask his question. Let me see if there are other minor issues perhaps to discuss. Muhammad Rida Khan, thank you, dear best friend Simorshi. Thank you, Si Muhammad. You are. I like to see this type of friendship that brings you together. It's really nice. True friendship is getting scarcer and scarcer nowadays. So it's a good thing. You are not only colleagues but also friends. This is really interesting. Oh, Samia, Ustad Samia is also with us. Thank you very much, Samia. You're welcome. It's about syntax, but it seems you're very tired, sir. No, you can still ask. I know that I have in mind a student preparing for an exam, so There is no harm. Just ask your question, Mr. Picasso, and I will see if I can answer you directly and briefly, and I will clear away the mist that flanks your understanding of the thing. Okay? Thank you very much, C. Mustafa. We are waiting for Picasso to ask the question. I don't remember it, but now, C. Picasso, if you are here, you can still answer your question. Thank you, Si Abdullah. Thank you very much. We can do it tomorrow, inshallah. Inshallah. Okay. Tomorrow, I don't think I will be with you, but after tomorrow for sure. So let's leave it until after tomorrow. Okay. So have a good time and thank you so much. And it's been a great pleasure to be with you. Stylistics perhaps after the exams are over, because I have requests from students, Mustafa. Granted that stylistics, of course, is a very interesting course, and this will correspond to to our S5 students who will be S6 students in cultural studies. They have this component called stylistics that will be a good opportunity to talk about it. So thank you very much, everyone, and I wish you all the best. In case there are students who have specific topics that they would like me to react to explain, or to have a live session on, all that they need to do is type a message in the private. So thank you very much once again, and I wish you all the best. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.